Welcome back, everybody. So today I have the pleasure to receive JB Deal. JB Deal is an expert of sourcing in China. So the guy has been in China, Hong Kong for more than 20 years. Is a mine of experience in terms of sourcing and negotiating deals with Chinese. He speaks Mandarin fluently, so that's pretty much of an achievement. I have to tell you, I'm 16 years in Hong Kong. I don't even pretend to say a few sentences in Chinese. So I mean, it's chapeau, as we say in French.
Thank you.
One French nationals again. I don't know what I have to invite so many French those days. You already did, I think you're the third or fourth one in a row. I have to get more international people in the future. No, we are two Frenchies in this channel. If we continue like that, we'll do the interviews in French. So anyway. Yeah, so thanks for joining us, JB. So JB will be discussing the new trends in sourcing in China, in the Asia regions as well. So it will be really interesting if you are in e-commerce, if you are doing sourcing around the area, because he will share his perspective and his experience over the last 20 years and how he see the future of sourcing in this region. So thanks for coming, JB, and then the floor is yours. If you could introduce yourself or complete what I just said here, you know.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me, Laurent. It's a pleasure to be here. So as you mentioned, my name is JB, you know, Jean-Baptiste. I'm obviously French.
Mm-hmm.
I arrived in China back in 2002, so I've been here for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, I learned Chinese at the Beijing Language and Culture University. That was back in 2002, more than 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I did an MBA in Hong Kong at HKUST. And basically I've been here.
That's the number one MBA in Hong Kong, I think.
Yes.
And even in Asia.
Top 20 in the world.
Yeah, it's a good one, yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. So I've been a management consultant. You can call me basically a management consultant or financial advisor, technically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to present myself as a business accelerator, number one. Number two, as and basically what I do with this is go-to-market or project financing.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing that I do is actually you can see me as a business expansion coach. And the third thing that I actually do is negotiation. So I'm a negotiation expert, in regards to China and Asia in general. So that's what I do. As you mentioned, I've worked on sourcing related projects for quite some time. In fact, before being an entrepreneur, I was an employee and I worked for a large French retailer, and I set up sourcing offices in Ningbo, Shenzhen, and Hong Kong. So I know a little bit about sourcing in Asia and in China in particular. So when I arrived in China back in the days, China was super cheap. It was the land of plenty. There were so many opportunities and everyone was going to China just like to make some good deals. There was like a very good profit margin between the prices in China and the prices overseas. So it was a really good business. And then slowly we saw prices going up. A small transition, like slowly importers were pushed away from the business. You only started to see distributors coming to Asia. And then at a later stage, and now what we are saying is Chinese manufacturers going directly overseas. And so this is what we are seeing. And at the same time, we see a lot of, I would say, European importers try to focus on local markets more. So trying to find like smaller quantities, they don't want to take too much risk. Small MOQs, X-Works Europe, things like that. So they're trying to get supplies from locally sourced producers. So that's what we see. But at the same time, we see a lot of Chinese factories.
When you say locally sourced producers, from where? From China or from their own countries?
Chinese companies that will set up an operation in Europe, and they will supply products with small MOQs, maybe 300 to 500 pieces for their MOQ and smaller prices. They don't want to import like big containers because they see like huge risk and warehousing cost and all of that. So they want to make it as simple as possible. They are happy to try new products, but they want to zero risk. It's X-Works Europe and 300 to 500 to do a test, something like that. So that's what I have seen personally. But at the same time, we see a lot of Chinese manufacturers going, directly on Amazon to sell their products, set up like a store on Amazon and other popular e-commerce platforms, so that's what we've seen. And because of the China decoupling thing, that we've been witnesses for the last 1 or 2 years. Now we see a lot of Chinese factories that are actually going into Southeast Asia. So I have an example of a company. They were supplying to Walmart China, Walmart US, and now they're moving the factory officially to Cambodia. And so we see a lot of traction and expansion in Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia basically is booming, and a lot of people are actually leaving China because China has too many risks, I would say, at the moment, in terms of supply chain. We've all seen during the COVID years that there's a huge risk to deal with China, whatever happens in the South China Sea, Taiwan and whatever, so people are trying to be, cautious with the current situation. And Southeast Asia is still like booming because there's a big margin. And that's why, foreigners and also Chinese are actually going into Southeast Asia, and we see a lot of momentum going into Southeast Asia. A lot of those
foreign investment in Southeast Asia are actually Chinese.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. It's just the economic expansion of China in Southeast Asia. Right?
Yes. If you go in Southeast Asia at the moment, you will see that the entrepreneurs, they actually oversee Chinese entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. So you see a lot of activity there. Yeah.
Okay. And so how do you see so here you mentioned about the past, the present, we see more Chinese companies going to Southeast Asia. What do you see for the future of sourcing? Like what will be the key trends and the real issues of sourcing in the next 5-10 years?
That's a very good question. Well, basically, Southeast Asia is a blue ocean. So there's a lot of margin to be made, because if you look at the average salary in Vietnam or other countries in the region, you see that there's really a room to grow in terms of you can still make a healthy profit if you buy from those low-cost countries. So there will be some growth for the next 10-20 years in Southeast Asia. That's what you can expect. At the same time, people I think they have learned about what happened with China, so they don't want to be dependent on only one source. So currently it's China plus one, usually what we see. And I think people are trying to, for some of the products like high-tech products, it's very hard to replicate China and go outside of China, because for technological products, obviously you want to go to Shenzhen because you're looking at what's your objective. Number one, you want to increase production capacity and decrease production costs, and then you can still do that in Shenzhen or in Dongguan or some parts of China. But for textile and maybe low cost products, probably you have to focus on Southeast Asia.
Or more simpler products.
Yeah.
Because when we arrived in China, Hong Kong, is that the Chinese were doing cheap T-shirts and jeans, and they were trying to do crap phones.
Yes.
That barely worked, And then if you look at it now, I mean, Shenzhen is, as you say, is booming. They can do computer, they can do like a really advanced
high-tech
phones.
products.
They do electric cars,
Yep.
And when you see what they are producing now, it's like we were always thinking, oh yeah, China is those cheap quality, cheap product, low quality. But actually now they are able to produce really high quality product at scale.
Yeah.
But all the cheaper stuffs, all the more basic things, they become way too expensive.
Absolutely.
And what you say is that they are moving down to
Southeast Asia.
East. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
there's another key thing actually is the place of Hong Kong in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
There's still, Hong Kong is such an amazing place. Basically, there's a very limited tax. So for doing business, it's still like a perfect place to be. If you want to look at China and also at Southeast Asia, I think it's a good place. That's why both of us are here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
yeah, for me, I still see people either doing business with China, having the Hong Kong company here to facilitate the transactions, but they do the same with Vietnam, they do the same with Thailand, they do the same with Cambodia, because it's just so much simpler to deal with your business from Hong Kong.
Yeah.
As you said, also low tax. You can even get it down to zero if you don't live here with the offshore tax exemption.
Yeah.
Although you have to be careful with your own personal tax. That's another story.
Yeah.
But yeah. I still people ask me often, like, is it the end of Hong Kong? And I'm like, I don't think so. You know, it's just evolving. Hong Kong has always been evolving. You know, China is evolving as well. The only thing is, you know, just look at Hong Kong now and Hong Kong when we arrived. The funny thing is, like, I saw this whole complex of building being built. I was working in the tower in front actually before setting up my company.
Wow.
Yeah, and then this whole tower was crappy, and now they just renovated it. And all the side there didn't exist. No, they just built it in my stay here. It's pretty amazing to be like, oh.
So you saw the bamboo scaffoldings?
Yeah, obviously. Yeah,
nice.
Actually, they just removed some. We realized with Yunam recently, my marketing guy, that is this building new? There's a building at the back. We never seen it, and we are wondering, is it new? Did they renovate it or something? So actually, the whole city is constantly remodeling. You know.
Yeah.
If you see pictures of China in the 80s, it's completely Hong Kong's completely different. Like, look at one of those old James Bond movie, you know, from the 60s, 70s. Like, wow, it's another world, you know.
Yes.
Because it just keeps changing, evolving is the way it is. Now I think Hong Kong will know his Chinese time now. It will be, I mean, we can observe it now. It's getting more Chinese, less Western.
Yeah.
But I still think it will keep its position as the, you know, financial center for China and Southeast Asia. Yeah.
Absolutely. Personally, I see that people like us, we have a lot of value to deliver to people from around the world, because obviously in Hong Kong you have the financial center like you mentioned. So there's so many investors, so project financing it's really a good location for project financing. You also get grants from the Hong Kong government. They are very generous, but also you still need to tick the boxes, and you know, you have different program with HKSTP, Cyberport, so you have a lot of money actually, like they give millions. So
actually, if you guys are interested in that, I made an interview with a good friend of mine, Floyd. Floyd came here and discussed about Cyberport. So check in the playlist. There is a podcast with him.
Nice.
I don't know if you know Floyd. He's making
I don't know
AI projects, and he's in the high tech stuff. So
okay, cool.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no worries.
Grant. So how do you see also Hong Kong integration within the Greater Bay Area in terms of both sourcing and also, as you said, project financing?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea on that, or any opinions?
Yeah, I think the Greater Bay Area project is quite interesting, because it's kind of reconciling different things that are hard to reconcile. Because if you look at the one country, two systems, and the Greater Bay Area, it's hard to go in both directions at the same time. You know, one country, two systems means that basically you have two systems. And if you talk about the GBA, how do you want to, you know, reconcile both of those, you know, things together? It's a little bit challenging. So obviously what it means is Hong Kong has value in terms of being a financial center and being the door to China, like the back door to China, and it has always been a back door. So I think it will keep that position, and that's actually a really good location, because you can find like a lot of experts, expertise, labor that really speak languages, understand the culture, they know the market, they can help you leverage on, you know, any kind of issue you might be facing. You know, if you face like a problem, suddenly you have a Chinese supplier or a supplier from Southeast Asia, and they tell you, hey, you know, we don't want to pay you, or, you know, in French we say RFA, you know, la remise de fin d'année for the, you know, annual deduction or something based on the contract terms or something like that. You know, suppliers usually they will forget about their contract terms, and then like if you have to renegotiate the contract, and if you need some help, like people like us, we're definitely the right people to talk to, because we have expertise in this and how to negotiate with a supplier, or whenever you have like you're facing, because going to Asia is something that is still a bit challenging, right? You have a big margin, but at the same time you have some risk, and we're here to mitigate the risk. So I've come across like different projects where there was like a domestic accident and a product recall. The company lost 2 million euros. And, you know, how do you deal with this when you have like 8 containers of goods stuck in the warehouse, the supplier is not responding, and, you know, big crises happen? How do you deal with that, you know? And if you don't have someone on the ground, like people like us, obviously it's going to be like, yeah, exactly. Just call me, and that's what I'm here for. Business accelerator, expert negotiator. That's how I create value. You know, we all have or purpose, and we have to create value to the world. So I bring in my strength: language ability, negotiation, integrity, cultural awareness, and network. You know, you need access to information, access to people, and that's how I create value. So thank you for having me today.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you're welcome. I think that was a nice overview of the topic. Do you want to add anything on this topic, or?
For procurement, I think Asia is I would say there's more and more opportunities in Southeast Asia. For go-to-market, I think there's also a lot of potential to expand the business, you know, in Asia in general. But I would include Japan, Korea, Southeast Asia. Although they're all very different market, there's a lot of growth. If you look at the world projections of the demographic projections of the United Nations, you see the population growth for the next 20 years. So you know that there's going to be growth. So you want
Japan,
to be here.
that's really though.
Not Japan, yeah, not Japan, but it's still a developed market. And so you want to be here because Hong Kong is a perfect location for accessing, you know, Asia in general. So you're at the heart of Asia, and you can target different markets depending on what is your project, your value proposition. You know, for go-to-market, I always ask 4 questions. 1, tell me about your company, product, services. 2, tell me about your value proposition. 3, tell me about your economics, you know, the numbers. I want to understand the economic and how it works. And the last one is tell me about your success stories, because no one wants to, you know, be a white mouse. So you need to have like relevant success stories, big clients, or at least like, you know, endorsement. Yeah. So that's what I do for go-to-market. So I do a lot of different things, negotiation, you know, business expansion coach, business accelerator. For business acceleration, I try to focus on high impact projects where I look for projects that can really have a big impact in the world, something related to energy, sustainability, health, food safety, you know, something with a high impact. That's what I'm looking for. You know, I really want to make my life meaningful, and I want to focus on high impact projects. Yeah. So thanks for having me.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Thanks. Now, one thing I like to do when I invite people on the channel at the end of the podcast, especially when they have interesting experience in entrepreneurship, etc., is to ask them if you had 1 to 3 tips, if you want to give our viewers, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs watching this channel. What would it be? Like, what would be the number 1 tip? Or
okay, number 1 tip, I think it's about negotiation. I don't know if people are aware of that, but there is such a thing as 36 negotiation by Sun Tzu. So Sun Tzu is a philosophic person.
Is that the guy that wrote The Art of War?
Exactly, yes.
So I did another one on negotiation?
No, basically if you try to extract the negotiation techniques from this person, you come up with 36 negotiation strategies. And you have to understand that, for example, okay, if you go to a meeting in China and it's going to be, you know, you arrive on an afternoon, and then the meeting is going to be at the factory or at the office the next day. So people usually, you know, go to a dinner the night before, and they actually let down their guards because they don't really understand that they think the business meeting will start, the business stuff, the real stuff will start the next day. But actually, no. The minute they land in China, they are already being, I would say, played with. And they will try to be put in a situation of inferiority, or they will try to be well treated to a nice restaurant to try to make them lose their guard. You know, they will be like in a very nice restaurant, and they will be able to share some valuable information. And actually, if you let down your guard, you don't know about this. But remember that as soon as you arrive in China, you are being treated as a partner. Someone is trying to negotiate with you, and there's no such a thing as friendship. Although people might tell you that they are a good friend, they want to invite you for dinner, build rapport, negotiation, 关系, right? They want to build 关系, but actually,
关系, if you don't know, is the network. Is a term in Chinese to say network.
Yes. So actually, they're studying you. The night you arrive, they invite you for a nice little dinner, and they already study what's the best angle, what's the best strategy they can have with you. Mm-hmm. So you have to be firm, and the minute you land, make sure you don't let your just focus on your business. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thanks, GB. I think it was a really interesting talk and a lot of insightful information. I hope you like it too. If you do, don't hesitate to show it, put a like, say something in the comments, ask questions if you want, and we'll see if we can answer even. I will let all the details of GB in my description, so you can contact him if you need anything. And I see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.